In 1637, a single tulip bulb in Holland cost more than a house. No joke. Jan van der Berg was a cloth merchant in Amsterdam who thought he understood money. He didn't. The Dutch Republic in 1630 was the richest nation on earth. Trade flowed. Banks boomed. Everyone wanted more. Then tulips arrived from the Ottoman Empire. Exotic. Colorful. Unlike anything Europe had ever seen before. Marta van Dyck sold flowers at the Amsterdam market. She watched rich men buy tulips like they were buying gold. A rare broken-color tulip, streaked with flame patterns, was the most coveted object in all of Holland. One bulb, .bill. Jan heard about it from his neighbor. One bulb, 10 years of his salary. He laughed. Then he got curious. Peter Hooft, Amsterdam's most calculating banker, had been in tulips for 2 years. He was already rich from it. The tulip market worked on futures. You bought a promise of a bulb that hadn't even been dug up yet. Taverns became trading floors. Farmers, weavers, bakers, everyone was buying and selling tulip contracts over ale. Prices doubled, then doubled again. A Semper Augustus bulb sold for 6,000 guilders. A skilled worker earned 300 per year. Jan sold half his cloth inventory to buy 2 tulip contracts. His hands were shaking the whole time. Good shaking. Marta tripled her life savings in 3 months. She stopped selling flowers and started trading them instead. Peter watched the frenzy from above. He knew what this was. He'd seen it before. He was already planning his exit. Everyone's getting rich, John told Peter at the exchange. Even the fishermen. Peter said nothing, just smiled. By late 1636, tulip prices were rising so fast that people were quitting their jobs to trade full-time, actual jobs. The most insane part, nobody was actually delivering the flowers, just contracts, promises, paper, changing hands, endlessly. Jan now owned 7 contracts. On paper, he was worth 3 times what his shop earned in 5 years. He felt invincible. The government tried to regulate the contracts. Courts refused to enforce them, so they meant absolutely nothing legally. That should have scared people. It didn't. When the market's going up, nobody reads the fine print, ever. Peter quietly sold 60% of his tulip holdings in January 1637. He told no one, not even his own clerk. The Semper Augustus tulip reached 10,000 guilders per bulb. 8t. That's a mansion, a carriage, and a lifetime of servants. Marta put her entire savings into one rare bulb. 1 tutti. She was so certain. Everyone around her was so certain too. Holland's whole economy had restructured around flowers. Real industries were starving while bulb trading roared. Willem Brouwer, the tax collector, started showing up at the markets, counting, watching, writing things down silently. At the peak, a single Viceroy tulip bulb traded for 2,500 guilders. That was a carpenter's entire decade of wages. Jan borrowed money to buy more contracts. The maths seemed perfect. Prices only go up. That was the logic. Everyone's logic. The winter of 1637 was brutally cold. Bulbs stayed in frozen ground. Nobody could even see what they were buying. Just one more contract, Jan said to Marta at the Haarlem market. She laughed. Me too. Just one more. February 3rd, 1637. A routine auction in Haarlem, but nobody showed up to buy. For the first time, there were no buyers. No buyers meant no price. The contract was worthless. Word spread through Amsterdam in hours. Hours. Jan heard the news at breakfast. He went pale. He ran to the market. It was already too late. It was always too late. Within days, tulip prices collapsed, 99%. A bulb worth a mansion was now worth less than an onion. Marta stood at her stall. The bulb she'd bet everything on was worth almost nothing. She couldn't speak, couldn't move. Sellers had no buyers. Buyers owed money they couldn't pay. The whole chain was broken at every single link. Willem Brouwer arrived at Jan's door. Debt collectors followed. Jan had borrowed to buy contracts that were now worthless paper. Thousands of Dutch families lost everything overnight. Houses, savings, debt, futures, gone because of a flower. A flower? Pieter Hooft had sold everything before the crash. He sat in his office counting his returns, quietly, alone, content. The Dutch government refused to bail anyone out. The contracts weren't legally enforceable. You were simply on your own. Jan's shop was taken to cover his debts. He watched strangers carry his cloth inventory out the front door. Every bolt. The crash didn't just ruin individual. It froze credit across Holland. Nobody trusted anybody. The whole system locked. Marta sold her market stall. Then, her furniture. She moved back into one room and started overselling vegetables. Historians later argued the crash wasn't as catastrophic as the legend says, but for regular people, it absolutely was. Willem handed Jan his final debt notice. No emotion, just paperwork, just the system doing exactly what systems do. Real tulips kept blooming every spring, indifferent, beautiful, completely unaware that humans had lost their minds over them. The Tulip Mania became the first recorded speculative bubble in modern financial history. The first, not the last. Every bubble since follows the same formula: excitement, greed, denial, wall, crash, repeat. Tulips just wrote the original script. Jan spent 3 years rebuilding. He reopened a smaller shop. He never bought a single speculative asset again, not one. The tulip itself never cared. It just needed soil, water, and sun. Humans assigned the madness. The flower was innocent. Marta rebuilt too, slowly, selling real things again. Cabbage, carrots, onions, things with actual, undeniable, edible value. Pieter Hooft died wealthy in 1651. His heirs inherited a fortune built on knowing when to leave the room. That's it. Economists still debate how bad the crash really was, but the mania itself is undeniable, documented, real, and deeply human. The dot-com bubble, the 2008 housing crash, crypto winters, different assets, same psychology, same ending, every single time. The pattern is always the same. A new asset, a story, easy money, then the moment the last fool buys in, it collapses. Would you have bought the tulip? The narrator asks. Probably yes, Jan would say now. And that's the whole point. The real lesson isn't don't invest. It's know what you're actually buying, and why, and what happens when the story ends. Holland recovered. It always was a resilient, extraordinary nation. Within a generation, the Dutch dominated global trade again. Today, the Netherlands is still the world's largest flower exporter. Tulips, billions of them, worth billions of euros, legitimately. Jan van der Berg, cloth, merchant, lost everything once, rebuilt. Never forgot. That's the only ending worth having. The tulip just grew. It always just grew. We built the madness around it. We always do. We always will.